This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Clean Cause. Crack open a Clean Cause organic yerba mate and power through your day with 160 milligrams of caffeine that won't cause the crashes or the jitters like coffee and some of those other energy drinks might do. Clean Cause recently launched their new line of non-carbonated yerba mate in 4 amazing flavors. I love the lemonade and tea. Some of y'all might know it as the classic Arnold Palmer. That's not what they call it, but I've always known it as that. And I said, man, they got lemonade and tea. There it is. Also, the mint and honey is one of my favorites as well. Each can is sweetened with organic cane sugar. There's no artificial preservatives or sweeteners, but here's the best part. Every sip makes a difference in the fight against addiction. Clean Cause donates 50% of their net profits to support individuals in recovery from drug and alcohol addiction. So head on over to cleancause.com and take advantage of this limited time offer for Sober Guy listeners. If you want to get a subscription, they'll deliver it right to your door. You can set it up weekly, bi-weekly, once a month. You can get 12, you can get 24. Either way, you can get 25% off your subscription for life with promo code SOBER. So grab a boost, live better, transform lives. Go to cleancause.com, enter the promo code SOBER at checkout and save 25% off of your subscription for life.
That Sober Guy podcast contains adult content, merciless truth, and emotional nudity. Listener discretion is advised.
I'm Shane Ramey. You're listening to That Sober Guy podcast, and we help people stay sober. If it's your first time listening, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here today. You can find more podcasts, more resources. You can also contact us by going to thatsoberguy.com. No goodbyes, just be sure to follow us on Instagram at That Sober Guy Podcast. All the links from today's show will be in the show notes, so they're very easy for you to find. Got a great guest for you today. His name is Devin Wagener. And Devin's a great dude. He's also a husband. He's a father. He resides in the Nashville, Tennessee area. And he just celebrated 1 year alcohol free. So stoked to talk to him about that today. He also loves to travel, language. He loves running for a cause. And he's the host of the Yerba Power Podcast, which I just had the pleasure of being on recently. It's a great time. So super pumped to have him here today. Devin, what's up, man? How are you?
Hey, thank you, Shane, for having me on, and what a great introduction. I feel pumped just for hearing that. You're good at this.
Man, thank you, dude. I appreciate that, and it's always good to have good folks on the podcast, and I love to get to do this work and just talk to cool people and meet new people, and podcasting and sobriety, all the things, man. It's opened up so many doors, and I know you and I talked a little bit about that when I was on your show, so appreciate that as well. How's things out in the Tennessee, Nashville area for you?
Good question. Typically, you guys that are not from the South, this is the running joke, I guess, of living in the South is if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes because it'll change. So, we went from summer to like almost winter where it was like below 40, which especially this time of year. And then now it's back up to 70-ish and it's like, crazy. Hey, everything's cool. Like, don't change on us this weekend because I'm enjoying this right now. So
yeah, it does get crazy. And Jess and I experienced that back one of our old sponsors, Foundations Recovery Network, before pre-COVID stuff, they used to do a lot of big conferences. And so they would fly us out to Nashville and we'd do this big conference. I do a bunch of podcasts and then we get to hang out. Well, we went through the Johnny Cash Museum. And when we went in the museum, there was no clouds in the sky. It was beautiful out. And about halfway through, we're both looking at each other. What the heck is that? You just hear this pounding on the roof or whatever. And we look outside and it's like straight hailing and just lightning and like it was crazy. Yeah. And then within an hour or two, it was cleared up again. So I feel, it's definitely got some crazy weather out there.
Well, shout out to Johnny Cash as well, because we're both wearing all the men in black right now. So, those see the video. Yep.
I named my son Cash, so I guess, that's
nice.
Something to be said for. I love that dude. What was cool about that museum too was seeing all the old gospel hymns that he wrote back in the day before he really became like famous, and started the Man in Black, and that there was a lot of old poetic biblical writings in there, which was really, really cool. Have you ever been through that before?
No, unfortunately, I'm sad to say that. I've only been living here about 2 years, so I don't know if that makes me look worse or better. But yeah, I haven't been, unfortunately. So
you should definitely check it out.
Yeah.
It's definitely it's a cool like experience to go through. Where are you from originally?
So long story short is I was born in Texas, grew up in Arkansas, went to Louisiana for school, and now I'm here.
Got it.
So
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
I usually just say Arkansas, or it depends on where you're asking, when you're asking it, right?
Totally. So let's so man, there's a couple of things. I'm trying to think where to start. And I think what I'd like to point out first is, I hear so often, and like I mentioned in the intro, you just celebrated 1 year alcohol free, which congratulations on that, man. That's huge.
Thank you.
I know there's so many dudes out there who listen to this show and maybe they're tuning in for the first time today. And that's a very solid goal for a lot of dudes out there, because I've talked to them and I remember even going through that myself, just going, man, if I could make it to a year, like that'll be amazing. I don't even know how or if I can do it, but man, and so I wanted to talk a little bit today about how you've been able to do that, what that looked like before, like what were some of your old habits that you were able to change. And then what does it look like today? Like, what do you plan on to continue to do? And then after that, I'd love to get into the Yerba Power podcast as well and talk a little bit about yerba mate and cause you're kind of schooling me on the traditional real stuff. So we'll get into that too, but maybe let's just start with for those listening, give them a little background about yourself, who you are, and then what led up to that moment to decide like, hey, I think I'm going to cut alcohol out for a while.
So thanks, Shane, for it's an honor to be on and this space to be able to say this and allow this message to hopefully resonate with a lot of men right now that I hope you're listening. This is, okay, let me start first. And I feel like this is what I need to say is that, God first. I know as a man of faith, and I know sometimes even myself, even though I declare myself as a Christian, sometimes I don't live that way. And sometimes I can almost, unfortunately, sad to just admit for you, as far as raw emotions, uncensored emotions, that sometimes I'm embarrassed to admit that because it feel like, you meant as a Christian man, you're weak or something like that. And in fact, I am, because I wouldn't be able to do it without God. So I guess I just want to say that. But that was a choice. I chose to not do that, and I chose to do that as far as having a relationship with God. So although I grew up that way in background as far as Christian wise, that those were my choices. And that's, I guess, the turning point, I guess you could say. But the decision actually came because of a group that I'm in called the Dad's Edge Alliance. Larry Hagner, who's also been on this show as well, I know you know of. And, him and a couple other guys at one of the summits basically made a challenge to stay sober for a year. And that was pretty much, I just made the decision to join those guys because, kind of like you said, if I could make it a year, I feel like, I could finally be free. And I'm wearing a wristband right now that no one maybe can't see, but it says freedom.
Nice.
It's one of those little cheap things I got made, plastic, and I just wear it and kind of remind myself,
reminder.
And, but I also too saw one of my good friends that, he was doing a year sober and he was just doing it under just straight discipline. Just, you know what, I'm not going to drink. That was it. And I was like, wow, I can't make it a month. And this was only like 2 years ago. I was like, even 30 days would be great. And so, that when, I guess that was kind of also the same thing as just trying to make it to a year. And then, now that I'm here there, it's like, of course I'm going to keep continuing with that.
So,
and,
so let me back up a little bit. Let's start go ahead, man. Sorry. Got it. Okay. Perfect. I get it. Yeah. Let's start with 30 days. Let's start with like the first 30 days. Like, so you go to the Dad's Edge line. Big shout out to Larry and his whole team and just the Dad's Edge. Just a great community of dudes out there. And Always appreciate him. So I think that's awesome that that thought kind of came up at that for you too. But so you get this idea and you feel like you have some support, some other dudes are doing it. Where does it first start? Like that first couple of days and then those first 30 days. Let's just start there.
Yes. So this is a great point. Thank you for bringing that up, because it's kind of hard also to put into words too after a year, because reflecting upon it. But that's actually a good point, because I started on October 20th. My birthday is the 29th of October. So, that was the first thing. It's like, well, how am I going to make it through my birthday? Oh, yeah. Well, then what about Thanksgiving? Or what about Christmas? Like, these are all holidays and New Year's, like you have to drink for those, right? And I was like, man, I chose the worst time to start this, so it was just, I challenged that thought of that it was going to be tough to, okay. You want to take a pause real quick?
Yeah, sure. That's fine, man.
Crappy moment right there that I had to make, I guess, educational. So
yeah, it's fun. It's kind of funny, because like, I know I almost want to just leave it in and just like, because those are the real life things that come up.
It is real life. Yeah.
And it's hard.
I'm taking care of a sick kid.
Yeah.
It's like, I got to do this episode because this is very important. It's your time. I already agreed to it. I can't.
Yeah.
I committed to it's
dude,
life.
What's funny about that too, is I was going to tell you after we got done recording, but I'll just say it now too, because I was going to apologize to you for the other day when I was on the show, because I wasn't 100 that day. I had some stuff going on. Like I just wasn't in my normal. And it was like the one day. I'm pretty good for the most part, but it was that one day where I just wasn't feeling 100. I was running late. And dude, like, you still want to show up, and do just like you're saying, like, you're dealing with your daughter who's sick, and I could hear it in the background a little bit, and it can be distracting for you. And then you're like, oh, what you trying to do? And that's just life though, man. And so learning how to like deal with that stuff and not lose our minds over it is really tough sometimes, but I know I'm getting better at it. I'm sure you continue to get better in practice and stuff too, but it's tough sometimes.
And a point to sobriety, I think, does help with that of being in a better mind state.
Yeah.
And patience. I mean, it's still tough, but I think not being in such a, I don't know, because you usually use the alcohol as the escape to deal with those feelings. You don't deal with the feelings, I guess.
Yeah.
Or what's bothering me right now is that she's not being quiet while I'm trying to record a podcast. This podcast means nothing to her, and she's like, Dad's just being annoying and not playing with me, and then moved me from the stuff I was playing with, having a good time over here, that I shouldn't be touching, so, and now my feelings are hurt because you moved me, like, and now I'm going to cry and make your life miserable. So it's like, not now, don't cry now, I'm trying to record.
And that's how it always happens too, because I know I'll come, like, one of the kids or Jess or something will walk out right when I'm recording, and it just, like, they're not even doing it, and they're good, they're usually quiet, like if they got to come in and grab something, but it's not even them, it's me. Like, I get distracted and then I get upset with them, but really it has nothing to do with them, it's everything to do with me. You know what I mean? And like,
she's been more than patient this whole time. Yeah.
So anyways, bro, a good learning experience for us both. And hopefully those out there listening, like, hey, like, stuff doesn't always go our way, and we have to learn to adjust and be patient and calm. And it can be tough sometimes, but you ain't the only ones going through it. If you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, Devin and I, like, same stuff. So, okay. So I'm gonna move us back. So we were kind of talking about the first couple days, the first 30 days, like what did that look like for you?
Yeah, so that, and most people will tell you this, I think, even no matter where you're at, is that first 30 days is probably the hardest, I would imagine. I mean, in my experience, like I told you, it was like birthday, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year. Those were like kind of within that first 30, 69 days. So that was, it was thinking like, I can't celebrate or have fun, right, if I'm not drinking.
Yeah.
That was the lie I was believing. And I think that's a lot of lies that people are believing, is like, well, I got to join in with my buddies or my family. I can't just stand by the side and drink water. Like, I'm going to be a bad guest, or I'm going to be a bad host, or all these like things that you don't really think about until you start to think about them, until you really challenge those thoughts of like, am I really a bad guest because I'm not drinking?
Yeah.
No, if anything, I'm probably a better guest because I'm not drinking their alcohol, and I'm sober minded and talking, and I'm not making stupid mistakes. And I'm not saying everybody gets too far, but I personally couldn't control, and that was kind of the reason I decided. I was like, because enough was enough of me trying to, like you've said it on my episode, kind of white knuckle it, try to control it myself, and like, well, I'll just have one drink, or I'll just two, and then before you know, it's like, what's three, what's four, or you have one weekend, like, forget it all, and just my basically famous story was like finishing off the last part of the Fireball, the cinnamon whiskey, and that was just the worst idea I ever probably had. So anyways, it's just kind of like, okay, enough is enough. And as you know, and you've seen, I'm raising a family, I got to be present and fully here. I can't just, forget it. Like,
I can't
I'm intoxicated. Dad, someone else to deal with it. Dad's busy. And so I guess, but just going back to that first 30 days, I think it's just challenging those thoughts. Whatever those thoughts are, maybe write them down. For me personally, I'm a journal kind of person, just writing them down, thinking through those thoughts. Like, is that really true or no? Or maybe just combating that thought or whatever. Running it by someone as a group or in accountability, whatever you got. If you're not a writing person, or maybe just get some hard facts. I mean, there's stuff on your podcast, there's stuff on YouTube. I mean, you can look up hard facts about quitting for 30 days, the health benefits. So if you want to just go that route of just like, hey, I just want to be a little bit better for the new year. That's fine. It doesn't have to be this humongous why necessarily. The bigger the why, the better. But I mean, I think if you just want to, I just want to lose some belly fat. I don't know. I mean, that's fine too, right? I mean,
breaking it up into smaller goals too. I think, like 30 days or, for the holidays, and it's a really good point. The holidays are coming up, and I I quit right before the holidays as well. And so I remember those first, I kind of remember, it's been a minute, but like those first like couple of holidays, like you mentioned, Thanksgiving, Christmas, like, for 15, 20 years prior to that, like every Christmas and Thanksgiving, man, I was partying. Like that was just what you did. And so changing those habits, it was a little uncomfortable at first, but it was well worth it. So I know, like you mentioned Larry's group, and that was kind of the initial springboard that kind of pushed you in this direction. In the last year, or let's just say in those first 30, 60, 90 days, did you have some group support or like a mentor or an accountability partner? Like, what did that look like for you?
Yeah. So unfortunately, I wish I had a bigger answer to this. We did have a group, like a small group. We basically had a messaging group that we would just check in. And I have the Sober app, our I Am Sober app that I pledge every day, which is basically I check in. I write my why is on there, and I check in every day, like I'm going to stay sober today. And then at the end of the day, it asks you, did you stay sober, basically. So that was kind of my accountability system of just like myself of checking in, hey, it's been 7 days. Hey, cool. And then share it with the guys. Hey, I'm 7 days, how's it going? What's some thoughts you're dealing with? Just sharing in the messages. But there are some calls I would get on that weren't specifically necessarily about sobriety, but just checking in with guys in general, in those group calls we have through That Edge Alliance. But yeah, it was that main group was my holding accountable for that. And then the app, and that's pretty much it, really. So nothing huge there either, pretty simple.
It is simple, but you had accountability. And so that's what I think that
I didn't go alone. You're right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And like, I think that's usually, and even for myself and a lot of dudes out there too, I think that we try to make things too complicated. And so we don't ever end up doing them, or we do them lackadaisical because we think it needs to be complicated when it really can be simple. It's really just about showing up. And then, like you said, the I Am Sober app, another former sponsor of Sober Guy, great company. And I know a lot of people who use that app just for that daily accountability. I wake up, the first thing I do, I log, another day, a couple little notes, a little writing, and then boom, that helps kind of set the tone, set the tempo for the day, to help stay on track. So take us like halfway through, like 6-9 months. Now you got some time, you're starting to feel better. Like what was life like? Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that you noticed that were just really, really different, from not drinking alcohol versus when you were?
So quite simply, you do feel some kind of I don't know, victory, realizing especially made it through the holidays.
Yeah.
And like, okay, I made through like those lies. So now what's stopping me? And then now it's like, well, 3 months, 6 months, it's like, well, I'm so much closer to a year. It's like, I don't want to quit now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's kind of like, you don't want to quit. You broke the chain and you realize like you do feel better energy and you're not hungover and the days and weekends and whatnot. And, the weight and all that other good stuff too. But I think, more clarity in what you want to do with your life too, because you're not wasting all that energy behind basically nothing. You have that extra energy in like mentality and physicality, but also I think resources too, just finances and stuff, because you're literally saving money on drinks. Like that's actually one of my extra layers too, was like, this is not going towards my financial independence. This is bogging me down. Like if anything, hey, maybe it's only $30 a month, but that $30 a month times 12, like now I can invest that, and like seeing it even a bigger thing. Like this was this extra kind of carrot in front of me of realizing the more abundance that you can use towards more purposeful things. So yeah, and that led to kind of the podcast, that led to this running for causes and stuff, where I did this Freedom for 30. I ran like 46 miles over one night in the summer, and I ran like 35 last year for my 35th birthday, and I'm going to do another 3x3 by 36 this weekend, so 3 miles every 3 hours for 36 hours. I know it's crazy, but now I have all this energy and stuff to do stuff like that, and I realize, okay, I want to do something purposeful with my life to help others, and instead of wasting all this energy. Yeah. Anyway, so
I love it, man.
Yeah.
What about
those are just some of the side benefits, I guess.
You totally, man. I mean, you hit it like clarity. Let's just start there. Like that's just huge. Just clarity and purpose. Like that was one of the things I think I mentioned when we chatted on your show, was like I felt like God had this purpose for my life, and I was not even close to being on the path, but I knew it was there. I just like alcohol was a huge roadblock for it. So like the clarity, the purpose sense in that, once we cut that stuff out is huge. And I hear that from a lot of different dudes. I wanted to back up real quick, just since we are kind of close, like coming up on the holidays, coming up soon. What were some of the things, do you remember anything in particular that you did, or did you have any, did you go into it with a plan, or did you not go to certain events, or was there anything that was different for you so you could make sure you made it through the holidays, which can be a really difficult time for people to stay sober? What did you do? Or is there any tips that you might have? Are you nervous about how to get through the holidays alcohol free? I want to tell you about a free event that I'm speaking at called the Sober Summit Holiday Edition. Get ready to have your best holiday season yet. 24 experts will be sharing tips, inspiration, and all the motivation you need to enjoy the holidays alcohol free. The Sober Summit Holiday Edition will run from November 8th through the 10th with a variety of interviews to choose from each day. Here's the great thing. You can tune in to the interviews from anywhere with internet access. You'll also have access to a private Facebook group where you'll be able to meet other like-minded people, and you'll also have a chance to win prizes. After registering, you can also upgrade to the All Access Holiday Pass and get an extended access to the interviews, a private podcast to listen on the go, and special bonuses from the speakers. You definitely don't want to miss this. Click the link in the show notes of this episode to get your free ticket, or at that Sober Guy Podcast on Instagram and click the link in our bio. You can also get a free ticket there as well. And a big shout out to the amazing Maggie for putting this together. Be sure to check out the Sober Summit Holiday Edition, November 8th through the 10th, and get your free ticket today.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously letting my family know, my wife is obviously, and, some other people know that we're close, not just, I didn't really necessarily blast it out there, but letting other people know, like, just trying to stay sober. And, when people would offer me, I just say no thanks. And it was funny how that was just that simple. Just no thanks. And okay, no big deal. Like, and I thought they would like pressure me or something. It's like, oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And that was it. Like, really?
Doesn't have to be a big deal.
All I had to say was just no thanks. Yeah.
So you didn't have to tell your whole life story.
I didn't have to explain it. Exactly. I didn't have to be, well, I'm on this journey and blah, blah, blah. It was like, just no thanks. And like, okay, that was it. And I was like, because I was really thinking of like, oh, what do I tell them? What, how do I convince them to not, nah, okay, whatever. And that was really it. I mean, that's another thing. I made these lies of that you thought, and let's see, holidays. What other can I guess, I guess just to be honest, and this is probably good news. I mean, good advice for anyone is, who you're hanging around. You're the,
Oh yeah.
what is it? You're the sum of the five people you hang around. It's like, well, obviously don't go to the party where everybody's getting trashed, just common sense, if then just don't go. I mean, you're not really missing out. That's the other thing is like,
Yeah.
You think you're missing out on something and then you realize you're not like, but I mean, I don't know about everybody else's holidays, but honestly around here my parents are about 5 hours away. So it's not like we have this huge Thanksgiving or Christmas thing anyways. So I guess that did make it somewhat easier. It's not like, all right, this Christmas, we're going to go hard. It was just kind of like, well, just have a just regular family Christmas, so.
And you get to enjoy it and be in the moment and be present and like not have everything revolving around, drinking or whatever comes with that.
Yeah. Just really just like, being present too. Yeah. Like you said, instead of just being, I don't know, absent the whole time of just trying to escape from everything.
Yeah, that's good. What about the lie that your life will not be fun without alcohol? That's a huge one too for a lot of dudes.
And shout out to you for definitely addressing that on my podcast as well, because I think that's I think that was the bigger lie for me too, of like, not going to be fun to be around, like, because those that don't know, I was in a historically black fraternity,
Really?
So Alpha Phi Alpha, if anybody even knows what that is, but so there's this thing called stepping, which you might have seen in a movie, Stomp, if you've seen it or not, but so yeah, I used to do some partying and dancing and stuff like that. Believe it or not, I can't actually. My wife dances salsa. She's a salsa like instructor. So that's my little secret, other stuff that I don't really talk about. But I can, So I thought, well, if I'm not, a little loosened up or whatever, like I'm gonna, like so awkward, But so yeah, that was kind of one thing. But realizing that was just kind of hiding, your self-consciousness of your thinking everybody's looking at you, when the truth is like everybody's concerned about themselves. Like unfortunately, like humans are so absorbed that like no one's paying attention to you. Like everybody's worried about how they look and how they like, they're worried about what people are thinking of them. No, they're not even paying attention to you. So, I mean, I don't know.
And you experienced that, or you talked about that just a few minutes ago, in the fact, like having to explain why you're not drinking. You were making up these things in your head, like, how am I going to do? I'm going to have to tell them, well, what about and I find it so odd too, that like we're the weird ones because we don't want to drink. Isn't that strange? I think it's a little backwards, but like, hey, hopefully we're making some progress in the other direction of that. But you're so right, dude. Most people are too concerned about what they're doing themselves, and they don't really, I hate to say it, but they don't really care, like, for the most part. And so you don't have to have a big, long, drawn out story about why you're drinking. Just no thanks. And maybe grab something that is non-alcoholic and sip on it during the night. No one's really going to care. And then, did you experience that you're a better dancer without alcohol? What was your experience with that? Or is that a little like, I don't know.
Well, I will say though, yes, actually in some ways, because after you've had too many, you think you're really, really good dancing. Like, now I'm really on it. And you realize like, no, you're just all over the place. Like, you're not
drunk.
You think like, oh, now I'm really in the zone. It's like, no, actually you go back and look like, what the heck was I doing?
So how is your relationship, like your spiritual relationship with God? Like, how has that grown? How has it changed? Or has it, since you quit to now? Like, what are your thoughts on that? And is there anything you can share with anyone out there who's maybe struggling with that?
I think the biggest thing obviously is the freedom and the shame, the guilt, all those things that you always carrying, because you're like, oh, well, I'm going to get it right one day. And, and you're like, I'm sorry, God, not another time. Well, it's just last time. And, just being done with that and being able to just go forward. I think that's the biggest thing. And then obviously, a side repercussion, I guess, a side benefit or whatever you want to call it, is that, you're not hungover, so you can actually wake up earlier. You can actually go to bed earlier. And people think that like alcohol will actually help you sleep, but actually it's the opposite. It takes away from your sleep. So it's like, go to bed earlier, you wake up earlier, you have more time in the morning to get more done and spend more time with God and those things like that. So it's kind of like, actually counterintuitive. Like you said, like we're the weird ones. Like, no, we're the ones doing all these great things in life, and we're weird.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the practical thing of growing closer in the sense of spending more time with God and not having the guilt and shame and those kind of things. And obviously, it allows you to have a better relationship. It's the same way as like relationship with any other person. If you're like not fully present, or you're not connecting or whatever, I think it's just that simple.
Yeah. Do you have like do you do a men's group, or are you still involved with Larry's group, or
I'm still in it.
I thought the shirt looked familiar. Then nice.
Yeah. No, we're good. So as far as devotional men's group, that's actually something I still haven't completely wrapped my head around, as far as like getting other guys involved with me in that kind of more men's group kind of like spiritual aspect. I mean, I've talked with people about it, but as far as like a quote unquote Bible study or things like that people tend to think about. Obviously I meet with guys, and talk about those kind of things, and a mentor. I have like two, mentors and stuff. So nice. I guess I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, and it does. And I appreciate you sharing it too. And I just wanted, the reason I asked that is because I just want dudes out there listening to know that like, you're not alone. There's other people out there who are going through the same stuff, or similar stuff. And the best thing that you can do for yourself is to get in some sort of community, like with some other dudes for accountability, for connection. The isolation piece is the worst. And I'm not just talking about just for drinking. I'm talking about for all kinds of things we struggle with. Life in general. Relationships, work, stress. Go down the list of things that we as dudes can really struggle with. And it's, in my experience, it's been extremely difficult, if not impossible, to make any changes alone. So, I think that's very, very key. What about replacing, what have you done to replace some of those habits with good habits? And I know we've kind of alluded to a couple of them, running for causes. And I know that's a big one for you. And it sounds like maybe even dancing too. I mean, that's cool, dude. I love that you shared that too. That's awesome, man. Yeah. I can't dance worth a crap, by the way, but
I think just in general, the physical aspect for guys, especially doing something, it doesn't matter what it is. I think as far as like if you're running or dancing or lifting weights, I think it's just being that physical active, the physical outlet of this is something good for you physically, but also mentally, emotionally, spiritually as well. I think it's just very important to some kind of intentional exercise, even if it's just walking for 30 minutes or something. I feel like that's the main thing a lot of us don't do, is just daily intentional movement, period. We just sit behind a desk all day, myself included. Don't do anything to counteract that, whatever that looks like. I think, I drink yerba mate, which we've kind of talked about, that allows me to replace a kind of a better habit of drinking, I guess, with something that helps towards that clean cause as well. Like it's like, hey, here's something you can still drink and enjoy, I guess, where it's health benefits versus, against you, I guess. So maybe that's something a little more practical too, but those are the things that come off the top of my head right now.
So how'd you get into yerba mate? Like, let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, my wife is from Argentina, which is in South America, and that's kind of one of the, places where yerba mate grows. And so that's kind of basically the long and short of it is
she
kind
introduced
of with
it to
her
you?
and her.
Yeah.
So, well, a little bit more is I actually have my aunt married an Argentine man. And so I actually have cousins that live in Argentina. So I first learned about it like a long time ago at a family reunion, like when I was probably like 5 or 10 or something, when I first saw it. But she got me to really drink it and stuff once, we started dating and relationship and all the other stuff. So that's the real reason, that I drink it.
So for somebody,
but now I drink it more than her because I just all the health benefits and stuff, and I guess the positive things, and started a podcast about it. So it's like, now
well, so give us a little look in that. And I'm definitely a rookie yerba mate drinker. And there's probably people listening to this right now going, what the heck is yerba mate? I don't like, what is it? So can you give us like a rundown of just like what's the basics of yerba mate?
Yeah, I get that question all the time. So just to give to the basics to help people understand, is I usually, it's a loose leaf tea. It's just easier to explain it like that. And it comes from South America. It has all the benefits of like green tea as far as antioxidants and vitamins and those things, but it has the caffeine, so like coffee. So it's like you get the best of both worlds, and you don't have all the crash and jitters because it's the way the caffeine is delivered through yerba mate versus coffee, and stomach upsets and acid reflux and those other kind of things that people don't like, right?
Yeah.
But you can drink it more than just 1 cup or whatever, and that's, I guess, the easiest way to explain it. And as far as traditional, to explain that a little bit more is basically, you loose leaf tea, you have a straw that has a filter, and you just drink the water and filters it through the straw. That's what usually people ask, like, what is that contraption and all that stuff.
So where do you get it? Is it easy to find or get, or is it just something that you have to order it, or they sell it in stores?
Yeah. So, nowadays in the US, it's a lot easier to find than it ever was before, for sure.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of flooded the market in the US. There's of course Clean Cause, and there's other companies that do bottle it in cans that kind of present it more of an alternative to an energy drink, in that way. And then as the traditional loose leaf way, I mean, obviously everything's on Amazon. There's I have a affiliate with Pampa Direct, or Pampa Direct. Let's say it in English, Pampa Direct, Pampa Direct. So anyways, it's a website that you can order stuff straight from Argentina, online, and they do free deliveries to the US, like $50. So they import all over the world. So yeah, you can get it from there, or you can, some of the health food stores. I'm not sure, where you're at, but probably in California, there's a lot more options than there are here as far as like the health food stores. You could probably find it on the shelves there. Other than that, you're probably not going to find it in the Latino market because generally speaking, it's not the general Latino kind of thing. It's usually going to get Central American stuff, which it's very different than that. So probably those 3 places, either in your Whole Foods or your health food store, or we're online.
So what led you into podcasting, and how did you get into podcasting about yerba mate? And let's start with just podcasting in general.
Great question.
How did that come up?
So I guess it was kind of one of those things that now that you're sober and you have energy and you focus on things that matter, and it's like you have these passion for things, and sometimes it doesn't make sense, and sometimes you think this is stupid, but if you're really passionate about it, if you really enjoy it, and I can attest, because yerba mate, it's like, well, shouldn't I be talking about something bigger than that, like something more important in the world? And, oftentimes I question myself, but at the same time, that's my own space that's no one else there. So that's kind of, I guess, the beauty of it. But podcasting, was doing some Instagram lives with some people, just doing interviews like this on Instagram Live. And then, this is fun. Why don't I just do this, and instead of, and just put it on a podcast, and basically is a way for it to have a legacy. In other words, to record it and it'll stay there, right? Versus on just floating around on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I just kind of asked my followers, like, should I do that? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, really? You guys want to hear me talk about this stuff? And it's doing really well so far. And but I guess just getting started. I mean, Pat Flynn, I took his course. I've got a testimonial on my podcast now. It kind of really shot me up there pretty quick. He's a big podcaster, and I think you even mentioned about him, but his course, and I'm in his All Access Pass thing, and that's kind of how I learned the ins and outs, I guess, about getting started. But it's really easy nowadays. You just need a simple microphone, and you don't even need a really, really good microphone, just a simple microphone and a host, which, there's a couple different options out there, but I use Buzzsprout. You use, I think, Libsyn, right?
Yeah, Libsyn. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean,
there's so many options.
Pretty easy. Even Spotify, you can do it for free.
I saw that recently. Yeah. There's a lot of different options, and I love that you brought up Pat Flynn too, just because I was mentioning to you, I had this hodgepodge of equipment like back in the day, and he had so many of these videos when podcasting was like just kind of getting going. like how to kind of set things up. And he was a huge help, and he's helped a lot of people, I think, get going. So just a great
for
dude,
sure,
man. That's cool that you have that you took his course and stuff too. Okay. So let's see, just a quick time check here. We got a few minutes. So let's see, podcasting, where's everything at today? Obviously you're a dad. You just celebrated a year. What does this look like moving forward for you, man? Like just podcast life, alcohol-free life, health, fitness, just trying to be a better dude, man. And then following God and, trying to stay on a path, to live a good, healthy life, man.
So, well, going back to the fraternity, there's a phrase, a saying or motto is onward and upward. So it's, there's no reason to stop, especially after 1 year. It's like, well, I've all the excuses and stuff like, well, why would I drink now? Now I have to convince myself, well, why would I?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no real good reason. So definitely going to keep going. And I just don't really see the point anymore. So, I mean, not saying that you don't have to. I mean, maybe you just want to make a year and just do that. That's fine. I mean, I'm not telling you what to do, but for me, it's my convictions is like, there's no point anymore. So definitely keep on there. As far as podcast, I mean, I don't see myself quitting anytime soon either. I told myself, let me get to at least 100, because that's like the first mark of you've officially made it, because you got to get past 10 just to even say you are a podcaster. And then you got to get, to like 100 before anybody looks at you. And then you kind of, go from there and then do whatever you want, I guess. But, yeah, that's kind of just my goal, because at first I was worried about metrics and how many people are listening. And it's like, it doesn't matter. If one person listens, and even only one person listens to this episode, that's all that matters. Right. If we can just help one person out there. So I guess that's just my encouragement, and, just keep going. Do
you find
one day at a time,
Did you find that like the podcast and being able to be creative and, you're really into yerba mate and that's something that you enjoy. Do you find that kind of helps to keep you on that path too? And I'm sure, I'm pretty sure I know the answer already, but like, it's so important, like we have to find, and I guess that goes back to when we were talking a few minutes ago about replacing those bad habits with healthy habits, like finding something that we enjoy to do and that we're good at and that we like talking about or we like doing. I mean, that's huge. Has that been really solid for you to keep going to?
Yeah. And not trying to over spiritualize anything here, but God as a creator, he created things and made us to create things. So it's like, it's in us to create things, and whether you believe in God or not, I mean, people need that creative outlet, creative energy. And yeah, of course it gives me something to do, I guess productive and using the energy towards something that's creative and being able to, outlet, I guess also too, of, just being able to talk with different people and stuff, like we talked about before, being alone, it's just another form of connection as well to other people too. For sure. So, I mean, the short answer is yes, of course, but, I guess it doesn't matter what you do. You don't have to be a podcaster to do it, but I do think, finding something, good to do with, that creative energy and,
So if someone's contemplating right now, they're listening to this and they're going, man, like I'm really thinking about this. I'm considering, maybe it's their spouse, that they're listening and their spouse is the one kind of struggling and they're going through it. Like what advice or what tips or what thoughts would you share with them?
Well, I would say, feel free to reach out to me or you. I'm sure you would say the same. Reach out to someone, your friend or someone maybe that that has been sober or is sober or working on it. I mean, that's probably one of the step one. And then I don't know if make the decision, I guess. I mean, I hate to
go for it,
just go for it. I think, and even if you fail, you're better for trying, I think. I mean, I guess that's my other encouragement. And you've got a 30-day challenge, I know. So, that's a practical thing to reach out to as well. I think it's just, where there's a will, there's a way. But don't go alone, like we said. And
there's never going to be a perfect time. I'm going to wait till Monday. I'm going to wait till Friday. Just go for it. Like you said it. Just go for it. Like just do it. Just start It ain't going to be perfect. It probably isn't going to look like exactly what you thought it was going to look like, but getting the ball moving forward is like the first part. And like, I'm sure myself and you too, Devin, like when you start podcasts, I'm just using this as an example, like podcasting, like you just have to go, you just have to start because otherwise you'll never start. Like you're not going to know everything. Right. And you can take this concept and apply it to anything. You just got to go
100%.
So where, we're going to wrap up here. Where can folks reach out to you? Where's the best place to find the podcast? Where could they connect with you, Devin?
Yeah. So Yerba Power Podcast is on all streaming platforms and stuff. So wherever you guys listen to this, you can find it there too. Yerba Mate Power is my Instagram handle and YouTube handle. So I put stuff there that's, social media related, I guess. And I'm trying to do some more videos on explaining some of these questions with video format, like what is that? What do you do? That kind of stuff. But yeah,
good stuff.
That's basically the main things.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show today, man. And once again, congrats on a year alcohol free. Really enjoyed our chat, man. It's great to meet you. And dude, I wish you the best with the podcast, and hopefully, we'll stay in touch and we'll continue to connect, man. So thanks again.
Thanks, Shane. Thanks for having me. And make your decision to start now. Start here. Start now.
Let's do it. I love it. Just go for it. Hope something spoke to you today. Share the podcast with a friend. Connect with us on Instagram at That Sober Guy Podcast. We'll be sure to put all the links today in the show notes so you can connect with Devin. Find anything else out at thatsoberguy.com. Peace, love, and respect. Keep your blood clean.